Hello everyone. Welcome to the session 4 on AWS S3, which is the short form for Amazon Web Services Simple Storage Service. So, before moving into what S3 is, let's discuss what is cloud storage. So, we have this definition. So, cloud storage is a service model that allows data to be stored, accessed, and managed over the internet, usually through a cloud computing provider's infrastructure. In our case, it may be AWS, who is a public cloud computing provider. So, in cloud storage, data is stored in a remote location on servers maintained by a third party service provider rather than on premise servers or local storage devices. So, to get a high level overview, so in the digital era that we are living in currently, so where data has become the lifeblood of businesses and individuals alike. So the concept of cloud storage has emerged as a transformative force. So cloud storage basically it refers to the practice of storing and managing data on remote servers accessed through the internet. Remote servers means remote computers which are serving a service, you can say. So rather than on local servers or physical storage devices. So this paradigm shift has revolutionized the way we store, share, and access information. So at its core, cloud storage offers unparalleled flexibility and accessibility. So cloud storage, for example, we have this for iPhone users or Android users, we have this Google Drive, right, where Google gives a storage of around 15 GB free for personal use. So there, like users can upload, store, and retrieve data from anywhere with just an internet connection. So we don't need to have any physical micro SD card or a memory hub with us at any time. So it eliminates the constraints of physical proximity to a specific device. So you need not carry a physically built device anywhere like with you. So what this does is actually this not only enhances collaboration among individuals and teams, but in a workplace setting, I'm saying this also ensures that critical data is always available on demand. So it does is it fosters a more dynamic and interconnected digital environment. So imagine people carrying their own storage devices across with them. So how tedious it may have been. So with the invent of cloud storage, what we are having is just with an internet connection, we can share the data securely sitting anywhere across the world. So why cloud storage? So in the digital era, what we have is security. So security is a very paramount concern in the digital age. So what these reputable cloud storage providers, so these companies who are into this cloud storage business, so they implement a robust measures to safeguard the data at all times. Because nowadays data is the new oil, they can say. So who is having data? He is the king nowadays. So like there are some techniques like encryption, authentication, some protocols and redundant backups. Actually these are very integral components of the cloud storage systems. So what this does is they instill confidence in the users regarding the confidentiality and integrity of their information. So moreover, cloud storage what it does is it enables scalable solutions. So we have heard this scalability in our sessions many times. So scalability means like virtually increasing the size of the capacity. It may be less or more. So with the help of cloud storage also, it allows users to adjust their storage in real time situations. So in case like currently I'm having a capacity of 15 GB, so in the next 10 seconds I want to increase it to around 1 TB if you want. So we can do it like in the snap of our fingers. So that's what this cloud storage has made it has made the transformation nowadays. So it is the scalability is particularly actually beneficial for businesses also who are experiencing faster growth or fluctuations in data volume. So the cost effectiveness of cloud storage also plays an important role, because here also, as we saw in the cloud computing scenario, the users only pay for the resources they consume. So if they need to extend the 50 GB, so they only pay for the 50 GB requirement. So what it does is it adds an economic dimension to the appeal. So in a nutshell, so cloud storage represents a pivotal evolution in the way we manage and interact with data. So what it does is it transcends geographical boundaries. So it also enhances people to people collaboration. So it fortifies data security. So it provides a very good scalable and cost effective solution as well for individuals and businesses. So it is very suitable for our current expanding digital landscape, we can say. So this is I think pretty much a good introduction about cloud storage. So as we discussed in the overview, we'll discuss the importance of cloud storage in cloud computing. So the first option is the remote accessibility. So users can access their stored data from anywhere with an internet connection. This remote accessibility makes it convenient for users to retrieve, upload, or manage their data from various devices. For example, for example, take the example of Google Drive itself. So you can use it remotely just with an internet connection. For example, I just want to quickly upload a photo so that it stays with me for my lifetime. Like my current phone storage has run out, and I just want to store it to for my own convenience, you can say. So with just an internet, you can just upload the files, you can say. So uh, another one more good thing is the accounts also are synced between various devices. So if you have a laptop, a desktop, or a phone, irrespective of the device, if that device has a Gmail or a Google account provision, then you can use it anywhere with just an internet. So remote accessibility is the main primary factor for the importance of cloud storage in today's era. Next one is the scalability. So as I already told you, cloud storage solutions are designed to scale easily to accommodate growing data storage needs. So users can increase or decrease their storage capacity based on demand without the need for significant upfront investments in hardware. So scalability, so cloud storage solutions are also helping in accommodating the various demands nowadays actually. So they are catering to the individual needs also for small startups who are in requirement of small around 2 or 3 petabytes, or they are also catering to the multinational organizations also. So they are like saving the need for significant upfront investments in hardware in the sense companies need not invest in the storage devices upfront. So these cloud storage providers are already having the infrastructure ready, so we don't need to pay the huge capital investment money beforehand. So the main upfront capex, we can say, it is saved due to the good scalability solutions from cloud storage providers. So the next one is availability and redundancy. So cloud storage providers typically ensure high availability and redundancy by storing data across multiple servers and data centers. So data centers, you can imagine in the context of AWS, has regions. So this helps prevent data loss and ensures data availability even in the case of hardware failures. So high availability means the data is explicitly available at all times virtually, we can say, literally, sorry. Uh, Due to this high availability, it can be ensured that our data is residing the way we want at all times. Because what these cloud storage providers do is they replicate your data across multiple servers. For a server means a computer which is storing your files. So your data is stored not in one but two or three servers which are residing in multiple data centers. For example, one data center is there in India. Let's assume that there are two data centers in India. So one is in Mumbai city and another one is Bangalore city. So one server is sitting in Mumbai and one server is sitting in Bangalore. So what is happening is, in case there is some unforeseen circumstances in the Mumbai data center and the customer wants to download or upload something, so his data is readily available from the Bangalore data center. So what this does is it helps prevent the data loss. So customer is assured that his data is safe with the cloud storage provider. In case like the server went some hardware related issues, some unfortunate like flooding happened inside the data center, so anything is taken care of. So availability and redundancy are one important factors. So another important factor is pay as you go pricing. So cloud storage often follows a pay as you go pricing model. So one good thing about cloud computing is any service you take off in the cloud, so all services are pay as you go. So where users pay for the storage space and resources they consume. For example, if you are just using a 5 GB storage, you are only going to pay for the 5 GB. If you are using a 100 GB, then you will be billed for the 100 GB. So this provides that flexibility and cost efficiency as users only pay for the storage they actually use. So these are four important factors. There are coming to our next slide. There are three more important factors as well. One is the security measures. Cloud storage providers implement security measures such as encryption, both in transit and at rest, access controls, and authentication mechanisms to protect data stored in the cloud. So you may be confused with what encryption is. So what encryption is, it is a process of converting information, typically in the form of electronic data, into a secure and unreadable format using an algorithm and a key. So the primary process of encryption is it is to protect sensitive information from unauthorized access or interception during transmission of data or while it is stored on a device or a server. Because the data is transferred, right, it is in movement from one place to other, so there may be chance some hackers might get hold of it and do uh, like uh, like some criminal activities or sell your data for some money in the dark web actually. So this is a boon actually in the cloud storage providers. So in the context of data, encryption involves transforming the original data, also known as plain text, into ciphertext using a mathematical algorithm and an encryption key. So what that does is the resulting cipher text that appears as a random sequence of characters and is unintelligible without the corresponding decryption key. So only individuals or systems with the correct key can decipher the cipher text and revert it to its original readable form. So sorry. So what encryption does is it plays a very crucial role in ensuring data confidentiality and integrity, especially in sensitive areas where we have this banks, financial transactions, communication, and the storage of personal or business critical information, like we have hospital data where the patient's information needs to be kept secret, right, for compliance issues from the government. So it basically serves as a fundamental component of cybersecurity measures, protecting data from unauthorized access and potential threats. So another important thing is collaboration and sharing. Many cloud storage services include features that enable collaboration and file sharing. Users can share files and collaborate on documents with others, often with version control and access permissions. So these cloud storage services also help us collaborate if we have the global teams sitting across the world. So users can remotely share files using these cloud storage providers and can collaborate on documents. So version control means we have GitHub, right? You may heard of Microsoft GitHub platform, which is a popular tool used by developers to store their code actually. So we can version the document, we can say, for example any file, like if a person one has worked on that document, he can name it as version 1, and second person can edit on the same document and push it to the remote repository, and he can mention that as version 2. So this helps in smoother collaboration across the world, you can say. Another one is integration with other cloud services. So cloud storage can be integrated with other cloud services such as computing resources, databases, and analytics services, creating a comprehensive cloud ecosystem for various business needs. So cloud storage also integrates, for example, in AWS S3 actually gels with all the other compute related services or database related services, for example EC2, Lambda, or any monitoring services like CloudTrail, CloudWatch, etc. So it creates a very good cloud ecosystem, so we can all the services are very nicely interacting with each other and we can take the maximum benefit out of them. So these are the another three important parts of having cloud storage. So here we see the popular cloud storage providers. So the first one, since we are dealing with Amazon Web Services, it is the Amazon S3, which is the topic of our current session. S3 is a short form for Simple Storage Service. So it is offered by the Amazon Web Services. S3 is a widely used object storage service. So what object service, you may be wondering? What is object storage service? So in simple terms, it is a method of storing and managing data in a way that is highly scalable, flexible, and easily accessible for the internet. So unlike traditional file storage systems we used to have, so they organize data in a hierarchical structure with folders and directories. So what object storage uses is it uses a very flat structure, treating data as discrete units called objects. So object storage services are also commonly used for various applications including cloud storage. It also helps in cloud content delivery, backup and archival, and data intensive workloads. They provide a scalable and cost effective solution for managing large volumes of unstructured data in a straightforward and accessible manner. So we have Microsoft Azure Blob Storage. So Azure Blob Storage is offered by Microsoft Enterprise Cloud. So it is part of the Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform. So Blob Storage provides scalable and secure object storage as well. So similarly, we have, sorry, so similarly, we have the Google Cloud Storage, which is provided by the Google Cloud Platform. It offers scalable and globally distributed object storage as well. So similarly, we have Dropbox. It is also a popular cloud storage service that focuses on file synchronization, collaboration, and sharing. We have Box, which is another vendor, and we have OneDrive, which is also Microsoft's cloud storage service. So here are some these logos you may be already familiar of. We have this OneDrive by Microsoft, we have this Dropbox, and we have the Google Drive. Currently, like we have people who are using personal smartphone devices, they are eligible for 15 GB of free personal cloud storage. So these are some popular cloud storage providers. So hope you have understood some form of cloud storage, what cloud storage really is. So we'll jump into the introduction of AWS S3. So coming to the definition, what is AWS S3? So Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3 is a scalable and highly durable object storage service provided by Amazon Web Services. It is designed to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere on the web. So Amazon S3 is widely used for various purposes, including data storage, backup, content distribution, and hosting static websites. So this is the official logo of the AWS S3 provided by the Amazon Web Services. So in a general overview, S3 is an object storage service provided by AWS, you can say. Uh, S3 is actually a highly scalable and versatile object storage service. So it was launched in 2006. So it was one of the foundational component of cloud computing business by AWS. So it offered businesses and developers a reliable and cost-effective solution for storing and retrieving any amount of data. So this is a very simple solution. So it employs a simple and intuitive storage model, organizing data into containers called buckets. So we have the concept of buckets here. We'll be seeing in the hands-on session. So each bucket acts as a logical unit for storing objects, which can include anything from documents or images to videos or any application data. So the S3 has a very flat structure which allows for easy scaling, making it suitable for very diverse use cases, including your backups, your restore, your data archiving, and content distribution. So it's a very good solution. So we'll understand deeply once we do our hands-on sessions. So coming to the key features of S3, the first one is the object storage. Amazon S3 is an object storage service which we know already. So which means it stores data as objects. Each object consists of data, a key and a metadata. So another important thing is scalability. So similar to the cloud storage solutions, S3 is designed to scale horizontally, allowing you to store an virtually unlimited amount of data. So it automatically scales to accommodate your growing storage needs. So a scalability aspect of Amazon S3 is one of the defining features actually. So it allows users to seamlessly and efficiently handle various workloads and store virtually unlimited amounts of data. So in terms of capacity scaling, we can say that S3 can effortlessly accommodate a massive volume of data. So whether you need to store a few gigabytes or several petabytes, S3 scales horizontally, to meet the demands of your storage requirements. So this ensures that as your data grows, S3 can handle the increased load without requiring significant changes to your infrastructure. So it also has the capability of high request rates. So S3 is designed to handle a number of requests, a millions of requests per second, you can say. So it makes it suitable for scenarios with dynamic and fluctuated workloads. So whether you are retrieving small objects or serving content or media streaming, for example, if you are streaming Hotstar by Disney, it is also hosted on S3, some of the files to a large number of users. So S3 can handle a high request rate with low latency, ensuring responsiveness even under heavy workloads. And another good thing is geographic distribution. So with S3's global infrastructure, you can store and retrieve data from different geographical regions. So this geographic distribution enhances both performance and scalability. So as users can access data from a location that is physically closer to them, reducing latency and improving overall efficiency. So one more, being a managed service by Amazon, S3 is a fully managed service. So meaning AWS takes care of the underlying infrastructure, whatever the S3 is hosted on. So as your storage needs grow, AWS automatically handles the scaling of resources to ensure optimal performance. So this eliminates the need for manual intervention and allows you to focus on using rather than managing your storage resources. So one more good feature is durability and availability. So S3 is built for 99.999999999, that is 11 nines percent durability, meaning that it is highly reliable and designed to sustain the loss of data in multiple facilities. So it also provides high availability, ensuring that stored objects are accessible. So if you focus on the number here, which is 99.119 percentage. So generally in the cloud computing aspects, we call it as a service level agreement with a durability of 99.119 percentage. So often referred to as 11 nines, since there are 11 number of nines following the decimal, we can see. So AWS use this as a measure of the reliability and data durability, which is provided by the Amazon S3. So in simpler terms, this SLA assures users that on average the probability of losing a piece of data stored in S3 is virtually extremely low. So approximately 1 in 100 trillion objects. So if you have 100 trillion objects sitting in a S3 bucket, so you may lose only one. So that too, the chance is very less. So here the 11 nines indicate how durable your data is within the Amazon S3. So AWS guarantees that over a given year, your data stored in S3 is designed to be virtually indestructible. So the high durability is achieved through data replications across multiple servers and locations, ensuring that even if hardware failures or other issues occur, your data remains intact. So the probability of data loss also is very less. So the SLA, which means service level agreement, implies that, so statistically speaking, again, so the chance of losing a single object like a file or a document that you have uploaded in the S3 is exceedingly rare, which is 1 in 100 trillion. So you can imagine the probability, actually it is virtually none, I can say. So this level of durability is very crucial for critical data, so ensuring that it is highly resistant to any potential data loss scenarios. So this SLA actually underscores Amazon S3's commitment to providing a highly reliable and world-class resilient storage solution. So users can trust that the data is not only stored securely, but it is also redundantly backed up to minimize the risk of data loss. So this was about durability and availability. Other aspects are data management. So S3 provides features for managing data, including versioning, which allows you to preserve, retrieve, and restore every version of every object stored in a bucket. So as we discussed previously, versioning means nothing but keeping the modified copies of the same object, because if you upload one file initially and if you edit the same file again and re-upload it, it becomes version 2. So S3 also provides uh, yeah, it provides an aspect of versioning, you can say. So it helps us to keep track of all the edited files previously. For example, if you keep the file 1 as a source, so file 2, file 3, file 4, so you can uh, make it out as a single source of truth, you can say. So another one important point is security. So access to S3 buckets and objects is controlled through AWS identity and access management policies. So S3 supports server-side encryption to protect data at rest, and data can also be transmitted over secure channels using secure socket layer or TLS. So using the IAM that we had understood in our previous sessions, we can manage how S3 service can be utilized in the AWS environment. So there are fine-grained access controls at the bucket levels, at the object levels, so you can play around with using IAM. So another one important thing is storage classes. So S3 offers multiple storage classes. We'll see in the upcoming slides in detail what each storage class is having. So with different durability and cost characteristics. So standard storage is suitable for frequently accessed data, while Glacier standard is a storage class here. So it is suitable for frequently accessed data, for example media or personal photos, you can say, which we use frequently, right? You can make use of the standard storage class. While we have another which is called AWS Glacier. Glacier provides a low cost archival option. Archive means if you are using very rarely, so you may have heard the term archives. So archives are like if you want to use it once in 10 years or once in 20 or once in 50 years. So Glacier provides that solution of being a low cost archival option. So these are pretty much features, and there are more features that I've included here. Another thing is the lifecycle policies. So you can define lifecycle policies to automatically transition objects between storage classes or delete them when they are no longer needed. So let's understand in simpler terms what lifecycle policies are. So imagine an S3 bucket. So S3 bucket is called, it's like a container where you store your data. So imagine that has a digital attic, so where you store lots of files and data. So lifecycle policies are like rules that automatically help you tidy those up and organize that attic over time. So there will be like storage classes. So think of the storage classes like different shelves in that attic. So there are standard shelf, which is a standard class storage class, you can say. This is like your main storage area for things you use often. There are some other like infrequent access shelf, and there are some other like archival shelf. For example, previously we saw Glacier, right? So it is like a deep storage area for things you don't need regularly. So you don't need those things regularly, like you don't interact with them, you can say, but you want to keep them for a really long time. So S3 lifecycle policies, they are like a helpful assistant for keeping your digital data in order. So making sure things are where they should be and cleaning up when needed. So another thing is access control here. So fine-grained access control is possible through bucket policies and access control lists. So we can grant permissions to individual users or applications based on their IAM roles. So access control in AWS S3, it refers to the mechanisms and policies that govern how users and applications interact with and manipulate the objects stored in S3 buckets. So it involves setting permissions and rules to define who can do what with the data in our S3 storage. So there are some couple of components within them. There are IAM policies. So we saw a sample IAM policy before in our IAM session. So IAM allows you to create policies that define the permissions for different users or groups. So these policies can grant or restrict access to specific S3 buckets or objects. For example, you can create a policy that allows a certain user to read from a bucket but not delete any objects. So there are also bucket policies. So bucket policies are JSON based policies. So JSON, we saw those in the previous IAM policy. I'll show you in this session as well, that are attached to an entire S3 bucket. So they can define rules such as who is allowed to access the bucket, from which IP addresses, and what actions, for example read or write are permissions, are permitted or not. So bucket policies are useful for setting broad access controls at the bucket level. So we also have access control lists. So what access control lists help us to do is they are another way to manage access to S3 objects. So ACLs are very fine-grained controls that allow us to specify permissions for individual objects within a bucket. So they enable you to define access permissions for different entities, including AWS accounts and predefined groups. So this was about the access control feature. The next one is the data transfer acceleration. So Amazon S3 transfer acceleration, it uses Amazon CloudFront's globally distributed edge locations to accelerate uploading and downloading of objects, reducing latency. So understanding about data transfer acceleration, so you can imagine the scenario like you are sending a package from one place to another. So normally what you do, so you would use a regular delivery service. For example, in India we have this DTDC, or we have delivery. We have more like established delivery services. So and it may take some time. For example, if I want to send a file from place A to place B, it says around 3 to 5 business days it may take to get delivered. So now think of AWS S3 data transfer acceleration has a supercharged express delivery option for your digital files. So imagine this regular delivery, so without acceleration, if we don't have any acceleration involved, the speed limit, we can say like a regular delivery truck following speed limits on the road. So it takes time. So it gets the job done, but it may take a while, especially for large files. So with accelerated delivery, uh, imagine like with AWS S3 transfer acceleration, it's like a express lane. So now imagine your files traveling on a super fast express lane. So there is also an intense speed boost involved here. AWS S3 transfer acceleration adds extra speeds, making your files are much quicker. So how this transfer acceleration works? So in the backend, it leverages AWS speedy network. So AWS has a special high speed network called the Amazon CloudFront Edge network. So you can imagine this as a super efficient express lane on the internet. So it also uses optimized routes. So your files take the most optimized routes through this network to reach the destination faster. So you will have a question also. So when we should use this AWS S3 transfer acceleration? So there are a couple of scenarios. So one is the urgent transfers. So when there is an urgency involved in your transfer, where you need to your files to get to the destination as quickly as possible, then you can leverage this transfer acceleration. So one more time is when you require global delivery. So especially useful when sending files across different countries. For example, if you are sending data from India to USA or USA to Canada, then the accelerated network helps reduce the time it takes for files to travel along long distances. There are a couple of like steps to set it up also. We need to enable acceleration. So in the AWS management console, we need to simply enable transfer acceleration at the S3 bucket. And there is another method also using special URL. So when you want to send or receive files, you get a special URL in the AWS. So with the acceleration feature, ensuring your files takes the express lane. So using this data transfer acceleration also, we have some benefits. So your files get to their destination much faster. So it is also useful for businesses with global presence. So if they have globally in all the countries, so in all the continents as well, then they'll get a global reach using this feature. So another benefit is it is very easy to set up. So you can just enable it for your S3 bucket and they are good to go. So no need for complex configurations. So to put it in a nutshell, AWS S3 data transfer acceleration is like choosing the express delivery option for your digital files, ensuring they reach their destination faster using a high-speed express lane on the internet. So hope you understood this. So there are a couple of other good things as well. So S3 also allows us to do the static website hosting. So S3 allows you to host static websites directly from your S3 bucket, providing a cost effective way to host web content. So it's also interesting how Amazon S3 facilitates static website hosting. So it provides a very simple, cost effective and scalable solution for storing and serving static web content. So in this context, static refer to files that don't change dynamically, like based on user interactions. For example, you may have heard of static websites. So in the backend, they are actually built with HTML, CSS, images, and client-side scripts. So what users do is users upload their website files to an S3 bucket, which is essentially a digital container for storage. So once the files are in the bucket, so S3 can be configured to treat it as a static website. So the bucket acts as the hosting environment and each object or file we can say within it, it becomes an element of the website. So setting up static website hosting on S3, it involves configuring the bucket for public access and defining the default index document. So we may having the index.html file internally. So additionally, error documents can be specified. So if the website wants to throw any error message, so it can be specified for handling common HTTP errors. So with this configuration, what S3 does is it assigns a unique website endpoint or a URL you can say to the bucket. So it is making the static website accessible over the internet. So S3 has its integration with Amazon CloudFront, which is a content delivery network set up by Amazon. So it further enhances performance by caching content at edge locations worldwide. So it reduces latency and improves user experience. So this approach to static website hosting on S3 is not only a straightforward one but also highly scalable, making it an attractive option for various web projects. So this is about static website hosting. And another thing is event notifications. So S3 supports event notifications that can trigger AWS Lambda functions, enabling you to automate workflows based on changes to your objects. So we have the concept of Lambda functions, which we'll see when we come to the Lambda topic in AWS. So if you are using Lambda as the destination using S3, so users can execute custom code in response to the specified S3 events. For example, you can take that as a I want to resize an image upon upload, or extracting metadata from an uploaded file. So S3 helps here with the advent of event notifications. So these are some of the good features of S3. So coming to the next question, what are S3 buckets? So Amazon S3 buckets are containers for storing objects, which may include files, data, and metadata within the Amazon Web Services cloud. In other words, an S3 bucket is a logical unit of storage in S3 where you can store and organize your data. So each object in S3 contained within a bucket, and buckets themselves have unique names globally across AWS. So let's break down this S3 bucket in simpler terms. So imagine a bucket, like think of your S3 bucket has a digital container or folder in the cloud. Cloud in the sense we can say AWS, where you can store your files. It's like having a bucket to hold your digital stuff. Bucket is just like a container. You can say the bathing bucket. So similarly, you can say the logo itself is designed as a bathing bucket, you can say. So another thing is it is like a digital filing cabinet also, you can say. So each bucket is like a separate filing cabinet. So you can have multiple cabinets or buckets for different types of files or projects. So we can also store our stuff. So just as we put physical items into a bucket, so we with S3 you can put digital files like photos, documents, or videos into our S3 bucket. And there's also unlimited storage. So the cool part is these digital buckets can hold uh, enormous amount of data. So almost like having a magical unlimited storage space for your files. And also you can access anywhere. So once your files are in the bucket, you can access them from anywhere with an internet connection. It's like having your stuff available wherever you go. So there is also some permissions involved. We'll see one by one in the next slides. So just I give an overview of what these S3 buckets are. So here are some key points about S3 buckets. The first thing is globally unique names. So S3 bucket names must be globally unique across all of AWS. This means that once a bucket name is chosen, no other AWS user can create a bucket with the same name. So in AWS S3, we have this concept of globally unique names, which revolve around ensuring that each S3 bucket that you create an object has a distinct and globally unique identifier within the entire S3 service. So this uniqueness is critical for proper functioning and accessibility across the entire AWS infrastructure. So when you create a S3 bucket, you must give it a name actually. Uh, I'll show you in the creation of S3 bucket. So this name has to be globally unique. So keep in mind that when you are creating an S3 bucket, the name that you give, it must be unique across all existing S3 buckets worldwide. So it's similar to making sure that no two houses in the world have the same street address. So it's what that unique name means. So why we are ensuring uniqueness is, so AWS is actually enforcing this uniqueness to prevent the naming conflicts. For example, if someone creates a bucket named uh, my company data, so no one else in the world can have an S3 bucket with the exact same name. So inside each S3 bucket, so individual files are referred to as objects. So they are identified by unique keys. So these keys combined with the bucket name create a globally unique identifier for each object. The uniqueness of these bucket names are also crucial for generating unique URLs. So when you access an S3 object through a URL, it includes the bucket name, and this URL must be globally unique to ensure that there's no confusion about which specific object you are trying to access. So the global uniqueness allows AWS to create a seamless and globally accessible storage infrastructure. So it also ensures that no matter where in the world you are or where your users are, so AWS can accurately route requests to the correct S3 bucket and object. And the next point is organizing data. So S3 buckets are used to organize and manage data. So you can create folders within a bucket to further structure your data. So you can create folders and directory. So people who are familiar with Linux, so you may have heard of directory. So it's a synonymous to a folder. So how you create in your own phones, right? You have the file manager, you create folders under folders. You follow some naming conventions to segregate some different files, right? You can also similarly do that in the S3 buckets. Another thing is object storage. I already explained this in S3. S3 is already an object storage service, so each item stored in a bucket is considered as an object. So moving to the next slide, so scalability. So similar to our previous slides, S3 is also highly scalable. So it allows you to virtually store unlimited amounts of data. So access control also we saw. So access to S3 buckets and their objects is controlled using AWS IAM. So you can set permissions at the bucket level and the object level. Object means at the file level to control who can read, write or delete data. So you can also play around with bucket policies. There are multiple policies which are already created by AWS in the backend, or you can custom create the policies in the AWS. So they are JSON based policies that define what actions are allowed or denied on the bucket. So these policies can be used for fine grained access control. You mean, so you can administer the S3 storage solutions using this IAM policies. There are also logging and auditing. So you can enable access logging for S3 buckets to capture detailed information about requests made to the bucket. So this is useful for auditing and monitoring access to your data. So let's break down these features actually. So the purpose is logging helps us to keep track of who is accessing the S3 buckets and what they are doing. So to enable logging, we need to specify a target bucket where S3 will store log files. So this target bucket can be the same as the source bucket or a different one. So S3 generates these log files that contain information about bucket level operations such as object creation, deletion or access requests. So these log files include details like the requester's IP address, the time of the request, the action performed and response status. Also we can do auditing with AWS CloudTrail. So AWS CloudTrail is another service by AWS. So it provides comprehensive audit trail across your AWS infrastructure, including the S3 service. But CloudTrail is actually configured separately from S3. You should specify a trail which captures API calls, and you can include S3 specific events there. So CloudTrail records events like who created or deleted a bucket, who uploaded or downloaded a bucket, and changes to bucket policies. Also, CloudTrail consolidates logs from different AWS services into one location for easier analysis. So logging and this CloudTrail configurations can be managed through the AWS management console or via the command line interface as well. So in essence, S3 logging and auditing features provide visibility into actions taken within your S3 buckets and help you maintain a secure and compliant environment by tracking and analyzing relevant activities. So another good part is versioning. So S3 supports versioning, allowing you to preserve, retrieve and restore every version of every object stored in a bucket. So this can be useful for data version control and recovery. So you can version like version 1, version 2, version 3 like that of every object stored in the bucket. Another important thing is static website hosting. We already saw this. S3 buckets can be configured to host static websites. Data transfer acceleration also I explained. So S3 also helps. S3 buckets also help us in data transfer acceleration. Uh, the next important concept is object operations in S3. So Amazon S3 provides a set of API operations for performing various actions on objects within S3 buckets. So these operations allow you to manage, upload, download and delete objects among other tasks. Here are some of the key object operations in S3. So what these object operations provide is they provide a very versatile set of functionalities, so allowing users to manage, organize and control access to their data stored in Amazon S3. So whether it's basic file management or implementing advanced features like versioning or object locking, these operations cater to a wide range of use cases. So I have put a couple of object operations. We have this put object, so where like it is used to add new objects to a bucket. You can use this put object operation. We have get object operation, which is used to download an object from a bucket. Bucket means the S3 bucket. So delete object, it is used to remove an object from a bucket if you want to delete it. So head object is to use to check existence and metadata of an object. So metadata is the data within the data, you can say. It gives all the fine grained details of the object. So we have multiple other object operations like list object, copy object. We have initiate multi-part upload, like it is used for uploading large objects in parts to improve efficiency, because if you are using a single large file, there is this loss in data transfer, so it will not move ahead fast. So it is important to initiate, like it helps in efficient transfer of uploading. There is another operation called upload part. It's used for uploading individual parts of a large object. There is complete multi-part upload, which is used to finalize the upload of a large object. So these are also another object operations. We have about multi-part upload. So it is used to cancel an ongoing multi-part upload. We have list parts. It is used to retrieve information about the parts of a multi-part upload. We have get bucket location, used to determine the geographical region of a bucket. So region means in the AWS we have multiple regions, right? We have North Virginia, we have Ohio. So you can get the bucket location accordingly. We have generate pre-signed URL. So it is used when providing temporary time limited access to objects. We have put object ACL, which is used to manage access permissions for individual objects. So coming to the next important point, which is storage classes in S3. So S3 in general, it's a very huge topic. So I have taken, because storage classes is often asked in many important exams, maybe the cloud practitioner or a solution architect associate. So it is important also while when you join the job and you do consulting in the cloud. So it's important that you know what are the strengths and weaknesses and what are the different features of the storage classes in S3. So accordingly you can suggest which is the best for the use case. So Amazon S3 offers a range of storage classes that you can choose from based on the performance, data access, resiliency and cost requirements of your workloads. So S3 storage classes are purpose built to provide the lowest cost storage for different access patterns. S3 storage classes are ideal for virtually any use case, including those with demanding performance needs, data lakes, residency requirements, unknown or changing access patterns, or archival storage. So we'll dig deep into this once we go through the storage classes one by one. So Amazon S3 provides the most durable storage in the cloud, as we already saw in our introduction. Based on its unique architecture, S3 is designed to exceed 99.119 percentage data durability. Additionally, S3 stores data redundantly across a minimum of 3 availability zones by default. So 3 availability zones means 3 separate physical data centers which are around 200 of kilometers apart from each other. So you can imagine how data is redundantly stored. So it provides built-in resilience also against widespread disaster. So if you have any floods or snowfalls or any violence by internal reasons, so they are pretty much safe from that as well. So customers can store data in a single AZ to minimize storage cost or latency. AZ means the availability zone, which is meant by a data center. So in multiple AZs, in multiple data centers for resilience against the permanent loss of an entire data center, or in multiple AWS regions. Regions are geographical locations, so they are actually thousands and thousands of kilometers away. So if you are storing in multiple regions, it is you are getting more geographical resilience and your data is more robustly secure here. So if you have data residency requirements that can't be met by an existing AWS region, you can use the S3 Outpost storage class to store your S3 data on premises. So we'll see S3 Outpost in the further slides. So coming to the first one, which is the AWS S3 standard. So S3 standard offers high durability, availability and performance object storage for frequently accessed data. Because it delivers low latency and high throughput, S3 standard is appropriate for a wide variety of use cases, including cloud applications, dynamic websites, content distribution, mobile and gaming applications, and big data analytics. So the key features is it is general purpose storage for frequently accessed data, low latency and high throughput performance, designed to deliver 99.99%, that is 2 nines availability with an availability SL of 99.9%. So one good thing is the files stored in S3 standard are highly durable, meaning they are well protected, and the service is designed to be available whenever you need to access your files. So it's like having a storage room that never closes. So you also have fast access here. So retrieving your files from S3 standard is very quick. It's like grabbing something from your shelf whenever you need it. So actually it's great for everyday storage needs. So for example, backups, serving website content and much more. So it's like the go-to option for each and every case. So it also handles various types of data from small text files to large videos. So actually it is the default storage option in AWS S3. So it is suitable for a wide range of users. So also it is very reliable and spacious. Like it is very you can imagine that as a spacious digital storage room in the cloud. So where you can keep your digital files safe and accessible. Also it has a good amount of availability with 99.99% availability. This is about the AWS S3 standard. Uh, we have another storage class called Amazon S3 Intelligent Tiering. So Amazon S3 Intelligent Tiering is the first cloud storage that automatically reduces your storage costs on a granular object level by automatically moving data to the most cost effective access tier based or access frequency. So without performance impact, retrieval fees or operational overhead, S3 intelligent tiering delivers millisecond latency and high throughput performance for infrequently, and rarely accessed data in the frequent, infrequent, and archive instant access tiers. So you can use S3 intelligent tiering as the default storage class for virtually any workload, especially data lakes, data analytics, new applications, and user generated content. So what we make out is we have this AWS S3 intelligent tiering has an advanced storage class that dynamically optimizes your data storage cost based on changing access patterns. So it actually introduces a two-tiered storage model. So one is the frequently accessed one and the another one is infrequent access. So coming to the frequent access tier, so in that tier data that is regularly accessed is stored. So it's akin to the easily accessible shelves at eye level, allowing quick retrieval of frequently used files. So another one is the infrequent access tier. So less frequently accessed data is moved to this tier. So similar to the lower section of the shelf, you can say. While still easily accessible, it offers a more cost efficient storage solution. So there is also cost efficiency here. So AWS S3 intelligent tiering is designed to provide cost efficiency. So you only pay for the storage class that your data occupies at any given moment. So we have these key features. We have automatic cost savings for data with unknown or changing access patterns. So based on the data class we choose, we have this cost savings enabled automatically. So there are three actually. We have frequent, infrequent, and archive instant access tiers. Have the same low latency and high throughput performance of S3 standard. So you get the throughput performance of S3 standard, which is unmatchable. So another one is the infrequent access tier saves up to 40% on your average storage cost. So it's also a good thing which is helping us to lower down our cloud storage costs. So the archive instant access tier saves up to 60%, 68% on storage costs. So we can also have the opt-in asynchronous archive capabilities for objects that have become rarely accessed. We have deep archive access tier, which has the same performance as Glacier Deep Archive and saves up to 95% for rarely accessed objects. So this is also designed to deliver 99.9% availability, which is a single line with a availability SL of 99%. It is a bit slightly lesser availability than the standard AWS that we have, but it is good for infrequent or frequent access data. So this is all about AWS S3 intelligent tiering class. Next we have the Amazon S3 Express One Zone. So reading its definition, so Amazon S3 Express One Zone is a high performance single availability zone storage class purpose built to deliver consistent single digit millisecond data access for your most frequently accessed data and latency sensitive applications. S3 Express One Zone can improve data access speeds by 10x, you mean 10 times, and reduce request cost by 50% compared to S3 standard. While you have always been able to choose a specific AWS region to store your S3 data, with S3 Express One Zone, you can select a specific AWS availability zone within an AWS region to store your data. So one zone is like choosing a very secure and cost effective vault within a specific region to store data that is very infrequently accessed, means you are not accessing that data very frequently. So if you are accessing once in a while, then it's a go-to solution. It also provides durability within a single availability zone only. So I think it makes suitable choice for certain types of less critical data, you can say. So we'll go through the key features here. So the first one is high performance storage for your most frequently accessed data. Another thing is we have this consistent single digit millisecond request latency. So the latency issue is taken care of here. So here there are improved access speeds by 10 times and reduced request cost by 50% compared to S3 standard, which is a really good feature. So we can select an AWS availability zone and we have the option to co-locate storage and compute resources for even lower latency. So we can also have the compute resources in the same availability zone and we can pair it up with the storage so that the latency is even less. So also we have this reduced processing time and more efficient use of compute resources, contributing to lower overall total cost of ownership. So we say this TCO in terms of cloud. So the costs are also reduced here. So analytics and ML workloads. ML workloads means machine learning workloads, and AWS service integrations also can be leveraged here. So we can scale to handle millions of requests per minute. So it also provides super high scalability feature here. So we can also optimize for large data sets with many small objects. So we can use existing Amazon S3 APIs with different bucket type directory buckets. So it is also designed to deliver 99.95% availability with an availability SA of 99.9%. So these are the couple of features of uh, Amazon S3 Express One Zone. So coming to the next one, we have Amazon S3 Standard Infrequent Access, short form S3 Standard hyphen IA. So S3 Standard IA is for data that is accessed less frequently but requires rapid access when needed. So S3 Standard IA offers the high durability, high throughput and low latency of S3 Standard with a low per GB storage price and per GB retrieval charge. So this combination of low cost and high performance make S3 Standard I ideal for long-term storage, backups and as a data store for disaster recovery files. You can configure S3 storage classes at the object level and a single bucket can contain objects stored across S3 Standard, S3 Intelligent Tiering, S3 Standard IA and S3 One Zone IA. So you can also use S3 lifecycle policies to automatically transition objects between storage classes without any application changes. So you can also imagine, like in summary, has S3 standard infrequent access is like having a cost effective, easily accessible shelf in your digital storage room for items that you don't use every day, but you still want to keep secure and handy. So it's a practical solution for very less frequently accessed data, like we have data backups or archives. So there are some key features. The first one is infrequently accessed data that needs millisecond access. Same low latency and high throughput performance of S3 standard. So you are getting the same latency and throughput features of the S3 standard here. And also it is designed to deliver 99.9% availability with an availability service level agreement of 99%. So coming to the next one, we have the Amazon S3 One Zone Infrequent Access. So S3 One Zone I is for data that is accessed less frequently again, but it actually requires rapid access when needed. So unlike other S3 storage classes which store data in a minimum of 3 availability zones, so here also S3 One Zone I stores data in a single availability zone and it is around 20% less costly. So it says it's ideal for customers who want a lower cost option for infrequently accessed data again, but do not require the availability and resilience of S3 standard or S3 standard IA. So yeah, this is pretty much similar to the one zone storage we already saw in the previous slides. So the another key features is it has recreatable infrequently accessed data. We have the same low latency and high throughput performance of the S3 standard, and it is also designed to deliver 99.5% availability with an availability SLA of 99%. The next important storage solution from AWS is the archive storage solution. So these are for longer duration storage classes, you can say. So going by the definition, uh, Amazon S3 Glacier storage classes are purpose built for data archiving and are designed to provide you with the highest performance, the most retrievable flexibility, and the lowest cost archive storage in the cloud. You can choose from three archive storage classes optimized for different access patterns and storage duration. For archive data that needs immediate access, such as medical images in hospitals, news media assets, or genomics data, choose the S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval Storage class, an archive storage class that delivers the lowest cost storage with milliseconds retrieval. Uh, Diving deep into this in a generic way, so you can imagine S3 Glacier is like a super secure and low cost vault in the cloud. So where you can store important but rarely accessed data. So imagine that as a digital vault. So vault means a safeguard, you can say, a safely built place. So it's a high security digital vault where you keep things you don't need every day. So like old photos, like you have some 5 or 6 years old photos that you not need, but you just want to glance them once in a while for nostalgic moments, or important documents, you can say, you rarely use. So another important aspect is it is very super low cost storage solution. So it's a very cost effective solution because it's designed for data that you hardly ever touch. So this is like choosing a very affordable storage option for items you don't need on a regular basis. So in the name itself, it has glacier. So the term glacier reflects the idea of freezing things. So to preserve them for a very long time. So in this case, it's a digital data that gets preserved securely. So also it's not for very quick retrieval. So if you imagine you want to see the data, so once you freeze in glacier, you can't like just go and take out the data tomorrow itself if you are storing the data today. So actually, retrieving data from Glacier is very slower compared to more accessible storage like S3 standard. It's like having to wait, you have to wait a bit longer to get something from a storage unit. But that's okay because you don't need it urgently. So it is best for archiving. So Glacier is excellent for archiving. So storing data that you want to keep for a very long time, but you don't want to plan to use frequently. So think of it as a very special room for storing your digital archives. So it's also ideal for compliance because in very hospitals, for example, some countries have made it a point and compliance requirement that they need to store their patients information for around 10 or 20 years or even 30 years. So Glacier is often chosen for compliance reasons. So they should meet the regulatory requirements for preserving certain types of data for extended periods. So in a summary, AWS S3 Glacier is like a secure, cost-effective vault in the cloud where you freeze and preserve important but rarely accessed digital items. So it's a smart choice for long-term storage and archiving, offering a balance between security, cost, and accessibility. So moving through the next slide. In the Glacier also we have couple of other options. So the first one is the S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval. So in the name itself it says uh, it has the provision for instant retrieval, means immediate recovery. So going by the definition, it says Amazon S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval is an archive storage class that delivers the lowest cost storage for long-lived data that is rarely accessed and requires retrieval in milliseconds. With S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval, you can save up to 60% on storage costs compared to using the S3 standard infrequent access storage class that we saw earlier. So when your data is accessed once per quarter. So quarter means it's the billing cycle or the quarter of a year, you can say. The moment you start your AWS storage operations using your account. So there are some key features involved here of the AWS S3 Glacier instant retrieval storage option. So it's for long lived data that is accessed 5 times per year with instant retrievals. The data retrieval in milliseconds with the same performance as S3 standard. So we can recover the data within milliseconds. It has that feature, and the performance and throughput is also similar to S3 standard, which is a very good option. It is also designed to deliver 99.9% availability with an availability service level agreement of 99%, which is also a good option. So it has the 128 KB minimum object size. So whatever, if you want to choose this as a storage class, the object that you are trying to store should be a minimum 128 kilobytes. So below which it is not able to accept the storage. So the S3 put API for direct uploads to S3 Glacier, instant retrieval, and S3 lifecycle management for automatic migration of objects. So actually Amazon S3 provides a straightforward and efficient way to perform direct uploads using the S3 API, which is the put API. So to achieve this, you can use the put method to upload an object or file directly to an S3 bucket. So S3 Glacier also helps us achieve this too. So we have this another one. After the instant retrieval, we have this Amazon S3 Glacier flexible retrieval platform. So this delivers low cost storage up to 10% lower cost than S3 Glacier instant retrieval for archive data that is accessed 1 to 2 times per year and is retrieved asynchronously. So this is suitable for archival data that is accessed 1 or 2 times per year. So it is in the definition itself. So key features are backup and archive data that is rarely accessed and low cost. So this is suitable for the backup related activities. So this is actually a good feature. The second one is it is designed to deliver 99.99% availability with an availability SLA of 99.9%. It is also supports encryption in transit and encryption at data. So it is also ideal for backup and disaster recovery related use cases. So the configurable retrieval times from minutes to hours with free bulk retrievals. It also supports the S3 put API for direct uploads to S3 Glacier, flexible retrieval, and S3 lifecycle management for automatic migration of objects. So these are couple of features of the S3 Glacier flexible retrieval class. We have in the Glacier only we have Amazon S3 Glacier Deep Archive. So the S3 Glacier Deep Archive is Amazon S3's lowest cost storage class and supports long-term retention and digital preservation for data that may be accessed once or twice in a year. So this is among the lowest cost offerings. So if you have any data that is only required to be accessed once or twice, if you have some legacy data, then this storage option is really useful. So the key features are as it is the archive data that is very rarely accessed and very lower costs. This is designed to deliver 99.99% availability with an availability SL of 99.9%. So it's ideal alternative to magnetic tape libraries. Actually, in the earlier days, we had this magnetic tape libraries, for example, storing some archive movies, which need to be stored for hundreds of years. So this is a very good digital solution for that. So the retrieval time is within 12 hours for this, and this also supports the S3 port API, which we discussed previously. And one exciting new storage class which is available currently is the S3 outposts. So going by the definition, we have Amazon S3 on Outpost delivers object storage to your on-premises AWS Outpost environment using the S3 APIs and features available in AWS regions today. S3 on Outposts makes it easy to store and retrieve data on your outpost, as well as secure the data, control access, tag and report on it. So S3 on Outpost provides a single Amazon S3 storage class named Outpost, which uses the S3 APIs and designed to durably and redundantly store data across multiple devices and servers on your outposts. So the S3 Outpost storage class is ideal for workloads with local data residency requirements and to satisfy demanding performance needs by keeping data close to on-premise applications. So to reiterate, Amazon S3 on Outpost actually it's an extension of Amazon S3 that allows you to run object storage on premises using AWS Outpost. So it's also fully managed service that extends AWS infrastructure, services, and APIs to on-premise facilities. On-premise in the sense you mean the private data center. If any organization is operating a private data center. So primarily like on-premises extension. So AWS Outpost brings AWS services, including AWS S3, to your on-premises data center. It's like having a part of AWS right inside your own facility. So also with S3 on Outpost, one thing that you can do is you can store and retrieve objects locally within your data center. So it's like having your own private section of AWS S3, but it's physically located on your premises. So it also seamlessly integrates with AWS services. So you can use familiar S3 APIs and features for your on-premises storage needs. So this makes it easier to manage and interact with your data. So S3 on Outposts is actually ideal for scenarios where you need to keep data on premises due to regulatory requirements. So you should not host the data on the cloud. Also, it's ideal for low latency access or specific data residency needs. So it's like having the benefits of AWS S3 while keeping data physically close to where it's generated or needed. Also, one thing is it also provides very consistent experience. So whether you are using S3 in the cloud or on Outpost, the experience is consistent. So you can use the same tools, APIs, and features for managing and accessing your data, where you'll be creating a very seamless hybrid experience. Also, one good thing is it's already a managed service by AWS. So AWS in the backend it takes care of the management, maintenance, and updates of the infrastructure. So you need not worry about the patching or maintenance or any infra related things. Infra means infrastructure in a short form. so allowing you to focus on using S3 for your storage requirements. It's like AWS taking care of your hardware so you can concentrate on your data. Also, it has wonderful scaling capacity, so you can scale your storage capacity and performance locally by adding more outpost racks. It's like expanding your on-premise storage capabilities just as you would in the AWS cloud. So this was more of about the overview. So it also has some features like S3 object compatibility and bucket management through the S3 SDK. Also, it is very durable and redundant. It has encryption using SSE S3 and SSEC. It has authentication and authorization processes using IAM, which is identity and access management, and S3 access points. Also, you can transfer data from AWS regions using AWS data sync, and also it has S3 lifecycle expiration actions. So this was more about S3 outpost features. This is a table which I have taken from the AWS documentation where uh, like it is very easy to analyze the chart and what all the different storage classes are providing as per their features. So we have the S3 standard, we have the S3 intelligent tiering, we have the S3 standard infrequent access, we have S3 one zone infrequent access, we have S3 glacier instant retrieval, we have S3 glacier flexible retrieval, and we have the S3 glacier deep archive. We have their respective service level agreements. We have the design for availability percentages. We have the available SLAs. We have the availability zones, like where the data is residing. For example, the greater than or equal to 3. We have for S3 standard. For S3 intelligent tiering, we have S3 standard IA. So I think most of them have the more than 3 availability zones except the S3 one zone. So since it's requested to only one availability zone. Also we have the minimum capacity charge per object. Uh, for only S3 standard infrequently accessible, S3 one zone infrequently accessible, and S3 glacier instant retrieval, we have a minimum capacity charge of 128 KB, which is the minimum required document or file size or object size, you can say, and for others it's not applicable. There is also minimum storage duration charge, so it's not applicable for S3 standard and also for S3 intelligent tiering, but there are 30 days and 90 days and 180 days respectively for the rest of the storage classes. Also, the retrieval charge is not applicable for S3 standard and S3 intelligent tiering, but for all the rest of the storage classes it's per GB retrieved. Also, we have the first byte latency. We can see like for the first 5 storage classes we have the millisecond level latency, but for S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive, since these are archival storage classes, we have minutes to hours. Also, the storage type is object storage for all the types, and the lifecycle transitions is supported for all the storage classes. So you can keep this handy. It is available in the AWS official documentation so that you can remember like what are the performance indicators for each storage class. Thanks for bearing through the theoretical session till now, and we'll quickly jump into the hands-on session by going into the AWS management console. So we'll quickly jump on to the browser terminal. They'll go to AWS login. Let's type into the AWS login console. Yeah, the AWS management console. I'll log back in. So since we have configured the multi-factor authentication in our sorry, in the previous IAM session, I'll quickly go ahead and create log in again using my root email address. So keep in mind that when you are logging in using the since we are using the Google Authenticator, so we should log in using the 6-digit code available in your respective mobile phones. So it's always the best practice to have MFA enabled. So I suggest strongly to always log in the Amazon account via the MFA. So this is our console. We can see that the region has been defaulted to North Virginia again. So quickly, as we did similarly to the IAM, we'll type S3 here. So here it is, the scalable storage in the cloud. So this is how it gives, like when you open S3 for the first time, you have this UI. So it says Amazon S3 store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. So Amazon S3 is an object storage service that offers industry leading scalability, data availability, security, and performance. So as we already discussed in the theoretical slides before, so create a bucket. So in S3 we have the concept of buckets, which are like a containers to hold your files or any data. So every object in S3 is stored in a bucket. To upload files and folders to S3, you will need to create a bucket where the objects will be stored. So the pricing itself, they have given an overview. Like with S3, there are no minimum fees. You only pay for what you use. So prices are based on the location of your S3 bucket. For example, in US, if you are there, so the prices will be according to the dollars. So if you are in India, it will be in rupees. So we have this simple estimate of monthly bill. So based on your usage patterns, what AWS will do is it will forecast the pricing, like what would be the estimate by the end of the month. So you can just play around and create an estimate. So coming back, we have the resources, we have the user guide, API reference, FAQs for all the support related activities. And we have some like get started with S3 if you are new to the S3 service. We have this couple of action items where you can go ahead and create a bucket, upload an object, download an object, host a static website. And we have this benefits and features where it says data performance and durability, security, compliance and auditing, granular data control, flexible storage options. We have these use cases where for the various use cases that is eligible for, it has for backup and data restore. It has for data recovery, data lakes and big analytics, archive, hybrid cloud storage, cloud native application data, whatnot. And we have some couple of case studies by enterprise organizations like Georgia Pacific is a company, Nasdaq is a company, Cisco is a company, Nielsen is a company. So these companies have implemented something and they have put up their case study here, so that if anyone is facing similar issues or want to implement a certain solution, they can go ahead and refer their case studies. These are all the related services of data. We have the AWS Data Sync, which says to automate data transfers between on-premise storage and S3 by using AWS Data Sync. We have the AWS Transfer family. We have the Amazon Athena, Amazon Kendra, Amazon Snow family. So there are a lot of data related services. So after coming here, so our first action item will be to create a bucket. So we'll create our first S3 bucket inside AWS. So we have the create bucket info here. So it says buckets are containers for data stored in S3. So general configuration is the first one will be the AWS region. So by default it will be North Virginia. Uh, and you can go ahead and create in anyone, but it mostly like it will show the enabled regions for us currently. So since we have enabled by default only US East and US West regions will be enabled. So I'll go ahead and create in the US East one region. So the bucket type will be general purpose. So since it's recommended for most use cases and access patterns, general purpose buckets are the original S3 bucket type. They allow a mix of storage classes that redundantly store objects across multiple availability zones. So this is a new kind of one which is called the directory. It is for low latency use cases where you have to use it for some one-off use cases, like you are hosting some media type of service where there should not be any latency related use with a single availability zone. Then you can make use of the directory type of bucket. So as we already saw in the slides, the next one is the bucket name. So bucket name must be unique within the global namespace. So we have to create a unique bucket which should not exist anywhere across the world. So for our account, we'll create something like uh, internship studio bucket. So automatically it will show that if we are creating any bucket name which is already existing, then it will show that please change the name or something. So now there is not any message, so it's a unique name. So copy settings from existing bucket, so it is all optional. We'll leave it as it is. So we'll do the ACLs disabled as well. One more like who have an eagle eye can observe is that here I can see all the regions here are blurred out, uh, and there is only you can see that there is only global listed here. So what this says is S3 is a very global service. In the means it is not what we can say, it is not confined to any region or location. So it is global means it is available across the world. But what the bucket we are creating here is it is confined to a region, you can say. So we have to explicitly set the bucket region. Like here we are selecting this as US East one, we can say. So if anyone comes up and asks you what S3 is, like whether S3 is a global service or a regional service, so straight away you should say in general S3 is a global service. uh, but if they specifically ask like how about the buckets, then you have to say that a bucket is a regional service. So this you have to keep in your mind. So we have given the bucket name, the region is set, the object ownership is recommended as ACLs disabled. So, and one more important thing is block public access settings for this bucket. So it's always recommended that we need to check this for block all public access. So if we turn this off, then there's a warning sign that turning off block all public access might result in this bucket and the objects within becoming public, because it will be open to the entire world, and it's always recommended that you keep your buckets private always for security related issues. And also we had discussed about versioning, right? To keep the like how we can do the object versioning or bucket level versioning. So we'll disable it for now for our first bucket. It says versioning is a means of keeping multiple variants of an object in the same bucket. So if we are editing on the same, then we can keep on adding layers of that so that there's a proper like single source of truth that we can get, so that we can go ahead and track that. So Some actually enterprises use versioning for compliance related issues where they need to keep the versions of different objects. And tag also, it's always a good practice. Uh, Generally, for the basic uh, enterprise operations, we always use the created by tags. We can add multiple tags also based on for what use case it is being used for example, development, production. So we can for here, we'll say created by as internship studio. Okay. So we'll go ahead and create the bucket. There are some advanced settings also, but you can ignore that for now as your first exercise. We'll go ahead and create bucket. So congratulations, you have finally created your first bucket. So these are some basic steps that you have to follow. Uh, there are some four parameters. You'll get the name of the bucket. We'll get the specific region where it is created. In our case, which is US East. US East 1 is the availability zone. Sorry, US East 1 is the region. We have the access here where it says like bucket and objects not public, which is a good practice, uh, and they are not open to the internet. And we also have the internet creation date of the bucket. So we'll quickly go ahead inside the bucket. So after we get here, so we have the option of uploading. We can upload any files you want locally. So once we are inside the bucket now, we have a couple of things. So we'll just try it and upload a sample object uh, from a local machine. So here there are some upload options here as well. So I'll just go ahead and add file. So automatically it will open a pop-up of the required these things. So let me just go ahead with the pictures and I'll just upload this PDF document. So it's an application and I'll hit it's just application PDF which has some contents of interview questions and answers. Just go and upload. So we have this progress bar up above. You can see that it's successfully uploaded. So I have this success green button. So we'll also check the configuration. So in the configuration class, after we create the bucket, we have all these details, whether there is ACLs, we have the read objects ACL and the read write for object ACL. We have the storage class as standard, we have server side encryption, there is no encryption key currently, additional checksums, tags are optional, metadata is optional. So when finally we have this object uploaded, so we'll close this and we can see the size, the type of the file and the storage class. So we'll do a quick check here since we have not enabled the bucket to be public. So we'll go ahead inside the file here. I'll click open the file. So it shows the properties. The owner is the account ID what we have, which is deadshot4341. So it shows the AWS region, the last date modified, the size, the type, the key, and the object URL. So we'll try to hit this URL. So we'll get an error here because since it's private bucket, we have not allowed it to be visible to the public world outside. So we'll get an error. So always remember that if we check the block public access, then the bucket will be private. So it's always a good practice to keep our buckets private. So we also have this permissions related issues, like who is the object owner and who has public access and who are the authenticated users group. And we also have the version. So if we are enabling version, if we enable bucket version, then we can access the different type of versions here. So since we haven't enabled it, so we'll not be able to see. So we also have the option of downloading, which I've hit just now. So you can see it's downloaded, and also I can open. So it is kind of open. So it's available as a preview to me. So it's you can see the contents of the files here. Just quickly close it. And also there are a couple of object actions. Download as, share with a presend URL, calculate total size, copy, move, and we have the edit actions. We can rename the object. We can edit the storage class. So always remember, by default, standard is the default storage class. So we can edit server side encryption. We can edit the metadata, and we can edit tags as well. So let's try out bucket versioning here. So I'll show you the magic of how bucket versioning works here. So let's imagine a scenario where if you are working for an enterprise organization and you have put this file and accidentally you delete this file, and if your manager or your colleague comes and says that I want her file back, then how we can do with the help of versioning. So let me delete this for now. Go ahead and delete it. So every time it says to delete objects, we need to confirm the deletion by just hitting this permanently delete option. I'll copy this and just paste it here and delete the objects. So yeah, since my object is deleted, let me go back to the S3 bucket. So if you can see, there is no file here, so I can't, there is no any way to bring those files back, if you can see. So what we'll do is, so we'll go to the properties. So I'll do the bucket versioning as enabled. So one good thing is, what AWS has done is there's no option to disable the versioning here. So there's an option to only suspend it. So you can't see any disable method here. So what I'll do is enable. So I'll do as save changes. So we have this already ready. So the bucket versioning is enabled. So I'll go ahead and again upload the object. So I'll click on add files and I'll go ahead and upload the same object. So I'll go ahead and create upload. So now what I will do is I'll go to the bucket again and I'll just go ahead and delete here. So you can see that somehow this show versions button has popped up. So I'll go ahead and delete this again. So I'll go ahead and type delete. So AWS always makes it point that you will double check before deleting all these things. And now it's done. I'll close this. And yeah, so now you can see that the file is gone now. So what I'll do is I'll just hit show versions here. So we have this an fmmfuna.pdf. So we have this type delete marker. What we'll do is we'll go ahead, if you want to retrieve, then we'll go ahead and delete this. Again, we can hit the permanently delete option here. Go ahead and delete objects. So the status is okay. And you can see the magic happened. So automatically the file that we had deleted has come back. So by enabling bucket versioning, there's always a possibility that we can bring back the deleted objects inside the bucket. So this is a very good use case, like if someone has accidentally or by mistaken deleted the object, then there's always, if you have enabled versioning at the bucket level, then there's a very good possibility that you can get that file back. So we need to always delete the delete marker as I have done, and automatically the file will be restored again. So you can see that this is the beauty of the versioning actually. So hope you understood like the creation of buckets and how versioning is enabled. So we'll go ahead and quickly delete the bucket. So I'll hit this. I have the option of emptying the bucket, where if there are any files, so we can empty is like throwing out stuff from the container. So I'll go ahead and delete it. So always keep in mind that when deleting the bucket, there's a warning sign given by AWS, so it says the bucket is not empty. So in case there are some critical files, so be sure to take that backup in your local machine or something. So always while entering, so buckets must be empty before they can be deleted. So use the empty bucket configuration. So what we'll do is before deleting it, we'll just empty the bucket so that it is very easy to delete. So I'll go ahead and empty it. So let's type permanently delete. Yeah, now the empty bucket status is okay. We'll exit from that. And now we'll go ahead and delete the bucket. I think now it should not be an issue. Yep. So before deleting a bucket, it says deleting a bucket cannot be undone. So undone in the sense it's an irreversible action. So if we delete a bucket, then it is gone in the skies forever. So always be careful when creating a bucket, working with the buckets. So how you are handling the files inside the bucket. Also it says the bucket names are unique. If you delete a bucket, another AWS user can use the same. So once I have deleted this bucket named internship-studio.bucket, so the moment I delete it, then it is available across the world for anyone to use it. So if you have your friend sitting beside you, so after the moment you deleted the bucket, so the next second he can take this name. So that's how awesome these features are in AWS. The another thing is if this bucket is used with a multi-region access point in an external account, initiate failure before deleting the bucket. So if there are some multiple accounts uh, having this multi-region access, then you should initiate the failure before deleting the bucket, so that the bucket is replicated into the another region and another account. Also, it says if this bucket is used with an access point in an external account, the requests made through those access points will fail after you delete this bucket. If someone like external account is trying to communicate this bucket via some communication mode, then after you delete the bucket, then that operation will not be held further. So these are like couple of reminders that AWS gives, which are very informative as well. So for our session, I'll delete since we are done with our session now. So I'll go ahead with having that internship hyphen studio hyphen bucket. So I'll go ahead and delete the bucket. So yeah, we are back to our dashboard. So we can see that there aren't any buckets in our account currently. So yeah, that was more about the console way. So let's jump back to the PPT. So we are done with the hands-on. So these are couple of best practices that AWS suggests actually. So the first thing is the bucket naming. So the best practice is choose a globally unique and descriptive name for your S3 bucket. So globally unique means it should be unique, like across the world, no one should have taken that name. It should be very personal to you, and also descriptive name. So give it some meaningful name for what the bucket is for, or like what operation you are doing using that bucket. So the reasoning is bucket names must be globally unique across all of AWS. So select a name that is unlikely to clash with others. So across the world, please be considerate that no one is using the same name for their bucket. So avoid using the generic bucket names and always try to give personalized bucket names. Also, it's always a best practice to enable the bucket versioning. So enable versioning on your S3 buckets always, so that it will help protect against accidental data deletions or overwrites, providing a way to recover previous versions of objects. Also, it's a best practice to enable server access logging for your S3 buckets, because they provide valuable insights into access patterns, which can be useful for security audits, monitoring, and troubleshooting. So if you are in a fintech or a banking organization, so if they are using, so they must be using any loggings, because due to compliance issues they need to keep the data related to their operations. So it's always a best practice. Also, it's always best practice to use server-side encryption for data at rest, because there can be some mishappenings if it comes into the hands of the hacker. So what SSE does is, SSE means server-side encryption. What it does is it encrypts our data automatically, enhancing the security of the stored objects. So whatever the objects that you are storing inside the bucket, then they are very security, and like they are very secure, you can say. So these are some best practices, and we have come to the end of the session now. So what we have discussed is, we have understood what AWS S3 is. We have understood what are the different type of cloud storage providers and why it is important in the aspect of cloud computing. And we also created uh, what we can say, we have created a bucket, and we got to know actually how different types of storage classes are designed, and what are the advantages and different key features of the storage classes. Also, we have understood the concept of bucket creation, also the best practices of S3. So in the next session, we'll be covering the AWS EC2. We'll be going deep into the compute offerings and what are different compute services, and specifically the Amazon EC2. which is the Elastic Compute Cloud, which is the core of the compute offerings provided by AWS. So hope you had a very informative session. So thank you and see you in the next session. Bye everyone.